Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Would you tell us, you've joined us here for a very special occasion.
Yes, sir.
You decided to run for President of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you do that?
Well, I'm running for the office of the President of the United States of America simply because the Spirit of the living God has ordered me to do so.
All right. So it's obvious that American people are sick of politics as usual.
Mm-hmm.
It's evident in the last election.
Mm-hmm.
They chose someone who just had nothing to do with politics, had never run for public office ever before.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do to rebuild that trust?
Your trust in American people?
Yes.
I would just simply be myself. And I think the people will feel me because I'm one of us. I mean, I'm an American that knows what it's like to be homeless. I'm an American who knows what it's like to go hungry. I'm an American who knows what it's like to struggle to pay bills, struggle to make ends meet. And I'm also an American who knows what it's like to win against incredible odds, as right now I am truly blessed. So I understand the problems of all Americans first-handedly. And inside of me is the solution for all of the problems that we as an American people face. So I really think and believe that once they feel me and the love that is on the inside of me, and we all start loving each other, I think they're going to start understanding that it's all about love and no other politician or so-called candidate. I want to clear something up. You mentioned that the American people chose President Donald Trump, and that's why he's the president. We understand also that at one point, the American people chose Al Gore. He won the popular vote, yet he lost the electoral vote. So how are we going to get the trust of American people is, number one, expose all the lies and just focus on the truth. There's a whole lot of deception that's taking place in this system. And my job is to expose it and introduce something new. Ready? A new us America. By us having a new us America and building a new America that's based on the provisions set forth in the Declaration of Independence. Matter of fact, I'm going to start all over. I don't like none of it, what I just said.
All right, well, we'll just move on to the next question. Okay. You're running on the ticket as a Republican. Mm-hmm. What does it mean in 2018 to be a conservative? And how would you change that if any?
What does it mean to be a conservative?
Yes.
Well, first, I don't consider myself a conservative. And why I don't consider myself a conservative is because I'm into root etymology of words. When I look at the etymology of the word conservative, what do I hear is con, which means to go against, service. And I'm not against service, I'm pro-service. So even if one would say, well, that's not what it means. Well, that's not what you mean. You can say, I'm not a conformist. I don't conform to other people's idea of what words are. I like to look at the truth and the root and the facts of all things. And the root of it is conserve. So I don't care what the definition that they say. I'm all about service. And I think all of these titles and terms is dividing. And I believe that we're not going to divide this nation no more. This nation will be united. And I believe in profusion. Profusion, not by definition of profusion, but pro meaning I'm for fusion, which is the uniting of one or more elements together, right, for a common good or for a cause. And that's where we're starting at.
All right. So in the last few elections, the young people have come out in droves, the millennials.
Yes.
What would you do to keep the millennials engaged in this next election?
First off, the millennials, as far as me relating to them and them relating to me, to keep them engaged, right? I would just let them be the voice, because I truly believe that they don't just need to be used as political pawns and say, hey, we got the young votes. We did that last time and nothing happened. In the president before that, right, we always promised change and nothing changed. Everything remained the same. Just a few things changed. I don't believe in pimping the millenniums and galvanizing them just to say, oh, the millennials came out in droves. I really believe that they need to be a voice. What I mean by that is what they have to say right? Especially those things that are valid, it need to be considered, right? Evaluated, and then drafted into laws, drafted into rules, drafted into regulations, right? Based on their concerns. And I really feel and believe that this is what I mean by government. The government is for the people.
So what are the keys to translating your vision for the American people?
What are the keys of translating my vision for the American people into action?
Yes.
The keys for translating my vision for the American people into action is love and truth. Meaning, I love you so much, I'm gonna tell you the truth that no other so-called candidate will even dare to tell you. You wanna know why? Because they're afraid. Because fear is the opposite of love. When I say they're afraid of the real change, which is what I, President R19 body, am here to bring. What I mean by that? By us going to the root of it, the root of the problems. Go to the Declaration, the United States Declaration of Independence. And when we look at it, it says if any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right to the people to alter it. The right of who? The people. The people don't know that we have the right and the power to alter this current United States government, right? And because we don't know that, when you ask the average person, right, we're always complaining about politicians and, oh, we need to get another person in office, oh, we need to do this. We don't realize that we got the power to alter it. And I'm the man, right, that has come along, that's been chosen to gather and bring and unite all Americans to say, hey, y'all, let's alter the government.
So what would be the first thing you do as President of the United States? What would you do the first thing, day one in office?
Day one in office is, I'm not going to tilt my hand and say that. And the reason why I say I'm not going to tilt my hand, because I know exactly what I'm going to do, right? But I'm not going to reveal it right now, not in this interview. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to lie to the American people. I'm going to tell them the truth.
So, Mr. President R19,
Yeah.
Biden,
Yes, sir.
you decided to run for President of the United States of America. What does this mean to you? What does leadership, what is the definition of leadership?
Well, first off, I believe no real leader would ever want to be a leader if you're a real leader. And leadership is only in place when one word arises, and that word is need. And the truth is, I've been blessed to see, feel, and experience the needs of all American people. Not just American people, but the world, really. But I'm mostly concerned about where I'm at right now. And so leadership, to me, is being able and qualified to facilitate the needs. In other words, serve. Because in order to lead, you must first serve. And I know what it's like to be a servant, how to love and to give unselfishly, because that's what's in my heart. And I don't like to see nobody suffer. I don't like to see people go through pains. And in my heart, throughout my life, God has always blessed me to move in a way to help people solve their problems. This is what I do, naturally.
Well, tell me, what describe some of these tools that you have for dealing with diversity?
The tools for dealing with diversity, I give you a simple tool, right? Love and compassion. That's the tool. And realizing that diversity is an illusion. It's a delusion. You know, we all appear to be different, and appearances are not always real. The sun appears to rise or set, but it doesn't really rise or set. It's in one spot. And so just because something appears different don't mean that it's really different. And so my tool for diversity, whether it be racial diversity, ethnic diversity, gender diversity, don't matter, right? It's love. Because I believe each person is just as precious as the next. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, what is the first thing we will do to raise the confidence of the American people once you're in office?
The first thing that I would do to raise the confidence of the American people once I'm in office,
Yeah.
I would have already gained the confidence of the American people before I got in office. Because the American people, they know what's real. You know what I mean? Because in order for you to understand a thing, you must first come and listen, contact with the true and exact opposite of that thing. So American people have come in contact with all the phonies, the fakes, right? The liars. So when they hear me and feel me, they're going to feel a spirit of love and truth, unlike they've never felt before. So before I step foot, day one, in the office, they would have already, those who are sincere and those who really love truth and those who really want change for real, they would have already trusted me, because they're going to see that I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it. I'm not a part of the lobbying system. My soul is not for sale, right? I care about you. What are your needs? What are your wants? What are your concerns? And I'm here to make sure every American get their basic necessities met: food, shelter, and clothing, and the pursuit of happiness for real. Yeah.
What are your views on NRA?
My views on the NRA, the National Rifle Association, is I think that they are an organization that is being used as a scapegoat by the imperialist. When I say imperialist, I'm not playing games. I'm not going to be saying they, because some people say the elite and then all this other stuff. I'm talking about there is an organization called the imperialists, right? A secret society that has existed in America that most know nothing about, that's been here for over 200 years, and they are covert, and they have a plan, and their plan is depopulation and control of the world, right? A one world order that is not based on love, it's based on fear. And so the whole thing with the NRA, I believe they are law-abiding citizens, and I believe that some of them, right, are, let's say, operatives of this covert situation. And why? Because it is all designed to make the NRA look like a bunch of bullies or the enemy, public enemy number one, right? And the NRA is getting the blame for what's taking place in Las Vegas, the shooting incident in the schools in Houston and Florida, and they're not. It's all being orchestrated, right? And I'm not, like I say, no shadow government. They're called the imperialists. And why are they doing it? Because they want everybody in chaos, in fear, and panic, so that people could welcome in martial law, welcome in executive orders that will abolish all of their rights, welcome in armed security guards at their schools, etc., because people will feel safe. I think the American people got to wake up, and I'm here to remove the veil off their eyes so that all people can see. Just because you see it don't mean it's real. You know what I'm saying? I would say believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Because just because you see it, like I said, it ain't real. And the truth of the matter is, Americans need to know, man, that they're being set up, and I'm here to stop the setup. Well, how? Love is the key. That once you become conscious and aware of what the setup is, the setup won't work. Yeah. Love will be the consciousness that rules the next cycle. Okay?
Okay, all right. So, all right, moving on. Let's talk about the border. How do you feel about the border?
I really believe, first and foremost, that we need to make friendly relationships with Mexico more friendlier. That's not based on greed and money and, underhanded cocaine deals and stuff. It's based on what are the needs of the Mexican people? Why do they keep coming over? Anybody ever stop to ask what is so bad about Mexico that everybody that's in Mexico, men, women, and children, keep running over to America, right? Is there something here that they're interested in? Is it the illusion of freedom, or is it real freedom? Right? Are they fighting to become American citizens because we got something and we know this is the greatest country in the world, right? But then if that model is true, right, then we should lead by example, and there's something surely that we have that we could implement in the Mexican government to where people ain't got to try to run over here. You know what I'm saying? And that is a matter of love. And the only one qualified to have that discussion with the president of Mexico is me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not coming based on an economic agenda. I'm coming and say, hey, man, let's talk about love. Let's love on each other. Let's find out what the needs of your people are, too. And let's facilitate those needs. And let's take it on an international level, right? I will address and instruct the United Nations, right, in regards to these things at a time to come. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So what does it mean to be a conservative in 2018? You're running on the Republican ticket.
Yeah.
The Republicans are known as conservatives.
Right. Very good. I'm glad you asked that question because, Republicans are known as conservatives, right? Let me just say this. I don't consider myself a conservative because the word conservative, con, means to go against service. And that's etymology when I look at the root of the word. So I'm not into the cliches or the innuendos of what things are commonly believed to be, right? I'm coming with new authority, new power, and new wisdom for the whole American people to explain to you all what it really is. If you're conservative, you're going against service. And I'm saying it's time for we as American people to truly service the needs of the people. So no, we're pro-service. That's it, pro-service. And that is the job of the chief executive officer, right, of the United States of America. The job is to serve. Jesus said, he that is chief among you, let him be a servant. You see what I'm saying? Matter of fact, let him be your servant. So as your chief, I'm your servant. Simple as that. So I want to destroy and crush all of their wisdom. You know what I mean? The beauty of the wisdom of the beast.
All right. Go ahead.
That's it.
No, all right. And so let's talk about it. We talked about Mexico there, the border.
Yeah.
Let's talk about other foreign affairs. Foreign affairs are many.
Okay.
All right. But how do you plan on taking on foreign affairs, and how would that affect our country?
Very good question. Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. That might be my favorite one. My foreign affair policy number one is Africa. Okay? The continent of Africa. And what I mean by that is loving her, protecting her, shielding her, guiding her, right? And restoring and strengthening Africa. That is my first priority as President of the United States in terms of foreign policy. And the first means of that is uniting all of Africa as one. And it will be known as ANU, which means African Nations United. And many have tried. Gaddafi tried it, and he tried to do it on the basis of gold, right? Mine is not the basis of economy, it's the basis of love. That no matter what tribe you are, whether you are Mendinki, whether you are Bassa, whether you are Igbo, whether you are Sierra Leone, whether you are South African, whether you're Somalian, Sudanese, etc., we all must unite, first and foremost, in love. And regardless of what God you call on, or tribal religion, let's all agree on one thing, love. And that universal language is extended with an index finger, that I will unite them and we will gather and say, just raise your hand and just say love in whatever language. If you say hua, or if you say amor, if you're French, if you say, whatever, alma, well, that's Spanish for soul, but you know what I mean. Everybody unite in love, and it will produce a frequency that this world has never felt before. And that's the idea. And once we sit down, again, we will instruct the African kings, we will instruct the leaders and the presidents, right? And the main thing is to unite and push out any other nation, any other agreement will be made null and void. Right? When I say agreements, you got people coming and raping Africa right now. The Chinese are raping her. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. The Dutch, the French, we're going to say, y'all, all y'all agreements are null and void. We're going to unite and we're going to strengthen her and then build up her economy, because the Almighty placed all the wealth in the world under our feet in Africa. So how will it benefit America? Because what is the American dollar based on? What is backing it? Right? The lie is gold, but there is no gold. So because there is no gold in America that is backing, if there was, then why are we, $1.2 trillion in debt to China, and $1 trillion in debt to Japan, and $15 trillion in debt to all Americans, meaning the Treasury don't even have the treasure. So by you calling yourself a treasury and there's no treasure in it, then it's a what? Lie. My job is to uncover every lie and say, look, let's build it over again. So in building it over again, then what would be the new system of wealth? Ready? Africa. You follow what I'm saying? Because Africa right now, if we don't go in and help her, and we will, right? She won't sell out to, let's say, the IMF, the way Ghana has. The IMF is the International Monetary Fund, who's using electronic current or units, measurements of fake money, and giving it to Ghana, which is with the lie to say, we're going to build up your economy. You're not building up the economy. You're selling them a dream, an illusion. It's called mind control. And my first priority is Africa.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to throw a few words out at you. Comment. Abortion.
Abortion?
Yes.
In terms of?
What are your views? What are your thoughts?
My views and my thoughts on abortion?
Yes.
It's a sensitive subject. It's touchy. And keep in mind, I can't give you no political answer. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Because I know women personally that aborted babies, you know what I mean, and are paying a price for it too, to this day. Mm-hmm. And I know women that aborted babies and regret it. So it's a touchy subject. And for that reason, right, there will be 12 women walking with me. When we alter this government, there will be 12 women elevated in highest positions of power and authority, right? Where I don't believe that a man, any man, whether it's me or the man on the moon or any other president, has the right to determine that type of situation, meaning what a woman should do or not to do. I don't believe it's up for men. It's going to be a council of 12 women that would be as judges, right? Those are the new seats that we're creating as we alter the current United States government. And I believe it's the women's job to make those decisions, not mine or any man.
All right. LGBT.
Excuse me?
LGBT.
Love God and be truthful. When I hear LGBT, I don't know, maybe I think the world would probably want me to conform, but I'm not. It's like, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of my mind. So when I hear LGBT, because my heart is full of love, I just hear love God and be truthful. And if I be truthful with myself, everybody has a little bit of whatever it is that we would say is gay or lesbian in us, whether we accept it or refuse it or not. And I think the most homophobic people got it all up on the inside of them. And why? Because everybody has been smitten one way or another through experiences in childhood or things we've seen in the media. And whoever say they haven't is a lie. Slap them upside the head. Because the reality of it is everybody done been through something or did something wrong sexually. So just because you might have been delivered from it or just because you don't do it no more, don't mean the thought wasn't planted. So I don't believe in ostracizing any type of people. But I do believe in loving the person. And I do believe in loving God in each individual and being truthful. And I think that the whole gay, lesbian, the words, first off, like I said, if you deal with the root of it, it's a distraction. What I mean by that is lesbian means lady, and bien means two ladies. So lesbian means two ladies. So anytime a woman gives birth to a daughter, right, the daughter goes through the birth canal. And when the daughter goes through the birth canal, she's making contact with the vagina. It's 2 X chromosomes. So that tendency is nature moving out of the necessity to procreate, because women precede men. Women was on the planet Earth before men. That's a scientific and genetic fact. So for years, there was no sex. Everybody was having seven. It was just love, and women were creating asexually, but through mutation, men came along. So what I'm saying to you is, you're dealing with a situation that male and female created he, them. And everybody got male and female in their DNA, in their chromosomal structure. That means the tendencies of my mother and the tendencies of my father is in me. Now, just because I chose love and obedience to the will of the Most High for my life, right, does not give me the right to look down on anybody else, especially when I done had experiences, thoughts like anybody else. So now I don't practice what they call homosexuality or, let's say, lesbianism. But as far as making a movement, I say, tell the people of the gay community, which means happy community. Ain't that something? They took the word gay, which means happy, and all of a sudden they coined it. You know what I mean? Because they say, well, a person is free if they're gay. Well, gay just simply means happy. I would say, tell each of them individuals to change it from LGBT, lesbian, gay, black, and trannies to love God and be truthful. And if everybody be truthful, then the Holy Spirit will lead them to where they really need to be. You know what I mean?
Second Amendment.
Go ahead.
Second Amendment.
Second Amendment?
Yes.
I believe that the Second Amendment, in terms of the right to bear arms, right? I truly believe that everybody who's born is born with arms. So when you say, I have a right to bear arms, I think the language was so vague that they should have been more crisp with it. However, I do stand up and say that there will be a new amendment, right? Because the new is better than the old. So they may have a Second Amendment, but we're going to produce for you all the 28th Amendment, because to date there have been 27 amendments to the United States Constitution, right? Our administrations through me, President R19, as your next elected chief executive officer, will bring forth the 28th Amendment, which I believe will satisfy all Americans. Why? Because it's going to be right and fair. So I really think that the whole gun issue and freedom of speech and everything like that, it needs to be re-examined in the 28th Amendment. And the reason why I say that is because I'm a Republican. And what I mean by that is I'm a Republican by truth, not by their definition. And as a Republican by truth, that means I stand for the public, the people. That's what I stand for in terms of servicing the needs of the people. I think the Democrats need to understand that we can all come together if they understand that the word Democrat, demos, means poverty, to lack. And I don't know nobody that wants to lack. But a democratic society means free and equal. And sometimes when you're free and equal, things can get out of hand. Because free ain't always free, meaning free speech. I realize from just walking and living and, and going through life that I can't just say whatever I want to say. It's that freedom of speech. Sometimes there's a consequence behind that. I can't just walk up to you and say what I want to say to you and disrespect you, dishonor you, because you have a right to respond and retaliate if I do. And I think this country has gotten out of hand with freedom, meaning Satan has a church now in America, in California. So now Satan has a voice in America. Why? Because the founding fathers, the framers, 9 of them, George Washington, Paul Revere, Benjamin, what was his name, Franklin, and Quincy Adams, and all of them, they were Freemasons, see, Freemasons. So they put this thing in about free speech because they didn't want nobody to keep them from worshiping secretly their god, Lucifer, and they didn't want, but I don't mean all Freemasons worship Lucifer. I'm talking about a lot of the European Masons do. So this whole thing about free speech, don't worry, I'm going to present to you all the 28th Amendment that would change it all, right? To where everybody who's a gun-toting, real, protecting, defending American person will have that right. They will never lose that right. But can you just walk up and say anything? No, not nowadays, because that free speech stuff needs to be revisited. The right to bear arms, yes, you do have a right to bear arms, and we have to understand what those arms are. Like I said, you was born with arms. So now that's why there's so much problems, right? I do believe in bullet control. I do believe in a provisional law that will do a psychiatric evaluation on anyone trying to purchase a gun. But I do understand that there is a Manchurian candidate, that there is a governmental conspiracy by the imperialists to poison kids and make them turn into mass murders and stuff like that. I mean, I do see what the beast is doing to make this an argument. And like I said, it's a distraction because love is the key. So they create these tense arguments between you and me and get Americans arguing at the bus stop, arguing at the barbershop, arguing on the jobs about stuff that they sit back and laugh at. They orchestrated all of these killings. So yes, you got a right to bear arms, and people love to hunt, and I don't think that should never be taken away. You know what I mean? But now, should you just be able to speak and say whatever you want? No, you shouldn't be able to say whatever you want.
3 strikes you out.
3 strikes you out? I think Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton made an apology about the 3 strikes you out, and they're apologizing for everything they said and done to blacks, men, because it mostly affected black men. You know, if you got 3 felonies or 3 arrests, then you out. That means you're going to prison. You're going to prison for the rest of your life. And just recently they apologized, which I think was good. I think that was a blessing. I think that was quite humane of them. I really feel that we should look at that rule now that we understand that it was wrong, it was unjust and cruel and evil and wicked in every way. Now that we understand, right, now what are we going to do about the lives of all the men and women who suffered? And I don't care what race they was, black, white, red, or yellow, it's wrong. So we need to go look at it, and we're going to, impose a situation to where if you are a nonviolent offender, then you would go through a psychiatric evaluation and you would get your freedom immediately. If you are a violent offender, and it was determined by the Council of 12 Women, which we will set up a new judicial council of 12 women in every major state, in every city, and every county that will be federally mandated. And they will be overseers, right, for special judiciary processes, right, not a parole board, right, none of that. I'm nullifying all of that stuff. Because when I say alter it, meaning all of this stuff got to change. But I can't alter it by myself. 300 million Americans, there's only 1,000 governmental officials. So how can 1,000 control 300 million when it's the 300 million that got the power? And that's in the United States Declaration of Independence. It says that our government derives its power, its just power, from the governed. From the governed. So if we got the power, then let the current move through us. And we determine and we decide. And no more Bill Clintons and people like that coming along and writing these evil laws. Lives have been sacrificed. Men and women have gone to prison for no reason whatsoever. You know, and so how do I feel about it? I feel like I'm glad they apologized, but now let's do something about it. And yes, there will be reparations. I will sign into law reparations for everybody affected by that, because the apology is on record now. And that means they shouldn't have to struggle. They won't for nothing. You shouldn't have to go to jail with $40 and a Greyhound bus ticket after you've been disenfranchised. You see what I'm saying? It's wrong. So we're going to correct it and change it, and we're going to see to it that everybody that's been disenfranchised by that get everything they need.
All right, so moving on. We spoke a little bit before the interview. Mm-hmm. We had some interesting views on drugs and
yes, sir.
The laws, legal laws in the United States. Tell us about crack cocaine.
Crack cocaine? I think crack cocaine, first off, after speaking to my media relations person, it should be reclassified as a medical condition and not a criminal element or a criminal addiction. I think people who are addicted to crack need to be treated in the same category as people who are addicted to alcohol. Isn't it a beautiful thing that Betty Ford, wife of Gerald Ford, President Gerald Ford, right, had a Betty Ford, what was that called? Clinic? As alcohol, Center for Alcohol Abuse. Well, it should be resorts for people who abuse and or are addicted to crack. And why I say that is because they need to be quarantined. Why? Because I know people personally who've been smitten by it. I personally tried crack when I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? And I got addicted to it, and I had to call on Jesus to be delivered from it. And I can say this, and many people might say, well, I can't believe he just said that, right? He should be running for president, and that's not something you want to say. Listen, I'm keeping it real because I already got the victory. You're not looking at a person who's going to try to be the president. I'm already the president of the United States of America. They're going to figure that out soon. Amen. So I already understand the needs of my people. And some people don't have the love or the knowledge to call on Jesus to be delivered. I was 15 years old. I was introduced to crack by a female who I was sexually attracted to. And she gave me the crack in a Coca-Cola can with ashes on it. And I smoked it. And I said, okay, I felt something. I said, let me smoke it again. And I smoked it again. And I realized, oh my God, I'm addicted. At the very point of realizing that I was addicted, I called on Jesus. I cried. I said, please, Lord, let me not be addicted to this. And when I woke up the next day, the addiction was gone. That was 1989. So I was 15 years old. So I understand it's very addictive. Now, who brought it in here? Where did it come from? Cocaine is not an indigenous plant in America. So we got to understand that the United States Incorporated brought the cocaine here. Everybody knows that. And listen, and as your next elected chief, I'm going to clean house. I'm cleaning up the CIA. I'm cleaning up the military. I'm cleaning up the FBI. And I'm not playing. You know what I'm saying? There'll be no more QS. See what I'm saying? There'll be no more controlling the borders and you choosing the cocaine and then you choosing this particular drug dealer to be your man to destroy my people. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's black, white, red, or yellow, crack kills, bottom line, and it destroys lives. And there are people who have been functioning with it. They may go 6 months and then have a relapse. So what are we going to do for those people? Like I know a friend of mine who has a son who he loves. The son comes in, and when the son gets in the house, he steals things and he pawns the stuff and he buys his crack. So you love your son. You don't want to kick him out in the streets and risk him dying. But if he comes home, right, then you got to keep an eye on him, because if you take your eye off on him for 1 minute, the addiction is so strong. The beast got to go, because the beast is the system that knew first-handedly as a part of its depopulation plan to bring the cocaine and the crack in the first place. And whoever thought of that, that is the demon that I'm here to fight, to slay. That's the beast. And what I'm saying is my way of fighting him is love and changing it and reversing the effect. So what are we going to do about those people who need to be quarantined? I said, we would produce narcotic zones. And a narcotic zone would be luxury resort, just like the Marriott, just like the Hilton, anything else. You got a Starbucks, you got luxury hotels, you got an office suite, and you got environments and performance and enhancement environments, where they learn to be empowered, computers and whatever their creative skills are, and let people operate. And when they have a relapse, we would take that crack and we would what? Dilute it, remove its potency, remove its power. Because when they want to fiend for it, they're going to fiend for it. You see what I'm saying? And we would, remove the potency. It would be, for lack of a better way of putting it, genetically remodified to where it doesn't have the debilitating effect. And what debilitating effect I mean by that is the R complex of the brain. Because human beings got a triune brain system. That means we got an R complex. And scientists know what I'm talking about. The R complex, it makes you aggressive. It goes into your mind and stimulates the crack chemical enzyme, goes into your pineal gland, and it begins to rupture the pineal gland. The pineal gland is responsible for your third eye, meaning your ability to see spiritually, your ability to see visions and clearly. So what happens when it gets ruptured, it activates, the cocaine activates the hippocampus area, which is responsible for delusions. This is why so many crack people, I didn't say crackheads, because some people need their heads cracked for calling a human being a crackhead. When everybody got some type of addiction. Some may be addicted to food. Some may be addicted to pornography. Some may be addicted to sex. When these people are addicted to a substance that was introduced to them that they had no business even finding out about in the first place. And what I'm saying is, I'm not going to be one of those complainers. Mathematically, our team, we're working together to say, let's change it. Now, what would happen? When these people addicted to crack, methamphetamines, whatever the drug is, right, they will have dumbed down versions of it. And when they do get an episode, when they do have a relapse, or they do go on their journey, as they say, at least they'll be doing it in a loving environment. And you know what I mean? And at least there would be people there to love on them and deliver them. You see what I'm saying? I don't mean in little centers, like I've been to Skid Row, and they got a little center, and they see a man there walking with a golf shirt on and say, yeah, I used to be a crackhead. But it's 50,000 people out there in Tent City in Skid Row, and it's legal. You can smoke crack, do whatever you want to do. In the land of the free, really, you tell me drugs are illegal, but everybody know in Skid Row, and anything goes. So what I'm saying is, I'm the first American president that cares and loves the least of these, that's going to do something about it and not just talk about it. I don't have a plan to wipe out people with melanin. That's the demon's plan. And that's why R19 is the anomaly. It's the glitch in their system. And I'm telling y'all right now, whether you like it or not, know it or not, I am the next elected president of the United States, and I don't need their permission to love them, even those who move to hurt us. It's too late. I'm here. And we're going to change everything, and that's very important. The reclassification of not just crack, but all so-called narcotics. See what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. You've mentioned several times about promoting women in your cabinet. Explain to me a little bit the history of that. Why is that you want to do this? Well,
it works. When I say it works, meaning a gynecological society, right, which is a feminine-ruled government, was the first form of government that was in this country. Most don't know, but it's a fact, and you can look it up, that before the settlers got here, before the founding fathers of this nation framed this here nation and constitution, there was already a nation in place. What was it called? It was called the Iroquois League of Nations. How long were they here? They were here for centuries before the European or the Caucasian or the governmental founders got here, straight up. And they had their own government in place. But first, there were 5 nations, and these 5 nations were at war with each other. They had conflict after conflict and unrest. And it was fighting among each other, civil war after civil war. And finally, the wise one among them, who was called a Maku, meaning chief, right, says, I know what we can do to solve the problem. And they say, well, what is the solution? He says, put the women in front, because women ain't got time to be fighting. They got kids. Women care about their children. They care about their houses, their husbands, their lives, their nails, their hair. They ain't got time to be fighting over no ego trip in a pissing contest. So what happens is the Maku, the chief, which is who I am today, right, gathered the women. And when he gathered the women, he put them in charge. 12 of them from every one of the 5 nations. And according to your history, United States history, for centuries, these nations enjoyed peace. The women solved the conflicts. They had much better resolve. Why? Something called right brain. Right brain solution is creative, loving, nurturing, kind. Left brain is stagnant. It don't grow. Left brain is masculine. Right brain is feminine. So it worked. And so much so, do a research and find out that the founding fathers were so impressed with the Iroquois League of Nations and their model that they said, wow, let's emulate it. So they used the Iroquois League of Nations as a template to build our nation and to create and draft our United States Constitution, because the Iroquois had their own oral law, their own constitution, their own declaration, and it was framed. In fact, history tells you that while the men were downstairs framing this here nation and writing the Constitution, right, it says the Iroquois League of Nations, those women, right, the matriarch they're called, right, were upstairs in what they call the upper room. Do a research. And the men would go upstairs and say, how do we do this? What should I do next? The very same way I may ask my wife, babe, what should I do about this? I asked my wife, I said, babe, what does the people need? She said they need basic necessities. Women got the answer. Men, we're too deep. So the truth of the matter is, if you look at the world today, the world is in a mess because of men. Were there any women experimenting with the atomic bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan? Were there any women in that laboratory producing that atomic bomb? No. Was there any women in the Watergate scandal when President Richard Nixon, right, orchestrated a burglary at the Watergate Hotel, which is a high crime and a misdemeanor? And the Constitution says that no president can be convicted or should commit a high crime or misdemeanor. You tell me burglary, which is a felon, is not a high crime, but yet this is the president of the United States of America, and he orchestrated a crime which resulted in stealing information from Democrats from what? The Watergate Hotel. And he was pardoned by his friend Gerald Ford, right, after being criminally implicated. Men did this. John F. Kennedy, whom I love and respect, right, was what? In the White House doing what? Adultery with Marilyn who? Monroe. And where, and see, how and when and where is it fair to the woman? And my favorite, right, Bill Clinton, who I thought was a great president. I love him a lot. President Bill Clinton, William Jefferson Clinton, right? What did he do? You know what I'm saying? He was what? Impeached. He wasn't removed, but he was impeached, stemming from sexual misconduct with a woman by the name of Monica Lewinsky. Yeah, they set him up, but he did it. And what I'm saying is, when we as men, right, I said stemming from because it was really obstruction of justice, but we as men, right, we made a mess of this world. And the only one who can clean a house up, and nobody can take care of a house better than a woman. Because if you look at the average, or let's look at what the word politics really means, we see that the word politics means male and female. That's all it means. Aristotle is the one who coined that phrase. Most don't know, the Greek philosopher. And he says politics is the natural reaction between males and females. Okay, good, we got that. Well, how are you going to have founding fathers and no founding mothers? That was opposite right there, because they started wearing wigs in order to produce the feminine frequency. And that was wrong. As two left shoes, 3 sizes too small. And what I'm here to do is to undo what they've done, because their doing is now becoming their undoing. So male and female reaction is supposed to be the premise of politics. Yet Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, right, also stated that a woman is not fit to rule. She's too emotional to rule. And this is the unspoken premise, which is a lie. History has proven the Iroquois League of Nations were ruling.
All right. Okay. All right. 5 keys to winning this election.
5 keys of winning this election: love and keep my faith and stand. Love, faith, stand. Right? Stay humble and keep praising God. That's for me, because I don't got to do what none of them else got to do. All I got to do is, I got a great media relations team. I have an excellent staff and support system. My wife, my bishop, my church, and I got God through Jesus. So my strategies is, 5 keys. That's for people who don't know they're going to win. That's for people who, who's trying to win. I already got the victory. All you got to do is get this tape out to the strippers, right? To the drug dealers, to the dope fiends, right? To the college kids, right? Be they black, white, or Mexican. The Mexican community, they're going to rally behind me. The white supremacists are going to rally behind me, because we got one thing in common. What's that? Love. Because David Duke loved his grandchildren. and I love mine. So all that other stuff, love will shift the consciousness to where I seen on Oprah Winfrey the other day, right? Where they had these skinheads 21 or so many years ago in Forsyth, just as ignorant, right? And then 30 years later, she did a revisit and they were all apologizing. Love is the truth. And everybody realizes that how you gonna be a racist and you watching LeBron James? That means if I'm racist, I can't enjoy the clip. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I can't watch these niggas. No, I'm just saying. And the same thing for us, right? Race, no one wins the race in racism. And love is the truth for that. So I'm concerned with what the skinheads are concerned with. I'm concerned with what the KKK members that are concerned with, not so much of them being Ku Klux Klan and their agenda is not going to work. They realize it too, it's not going to work. Love is going to overwhelm them.
All right, last question.
Mm-hmm.
Call to action.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of touched on this here. You said people are going to get behind you. This is your chance to talk to the American public.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like them to do?
The first thing American people need to do is realize their rights. That's the first thing. And the next thing they need to do is become a part of the all-inclusive campaign movement by going to R19forpresident.com, registering, signing up. Bring your skills to the table. Whatever your skills are, right, we're going to employ them and use them for the service of all. Whatever your concerns are, we will meet with you and we will draft them concerns into workable solutions. I want everybody to know that this is an exciting time for Americans. You all are not just electing your next chief. You all are participating in the process of government in a way by which you all have not even realized that the provision is laid for you to do. Meaning, each one of you have the ability now to change it with your ideas. Your ideas, you ain't got to lobby to no Congress no more. You ain't got to beg nobody to pass no law. You can call me, right? I am the president that you can call. I'm the first that'll say, hell, here's my number. Get in contact with me. Not just for now so I can win, but forever. As long as I'm your servant, I promise you that whatever you need, we're going to make it happen. And we will not fail you in any way. We're going to save the children, bless and elevate the women, etc.
So let's talk about education. It's a very important topic. It's one probably closest to my heart. Education in this country, we believe, needs some reform.
Yes, sir.
They tell us that the United States planners, prisons, look at the third grade test results to determine how many prisons should be built in the community. How would you reform education? Do you think it needs to be reformed? What are your thoughts?
I just think the word reform needs to be reformed. I think we just throw that word around like it's a pair, like a piece of candy. It's all over the place, and I just really think that keep it simple. Free education, free tuition for students accepted into private and or HBUs, historically black universities, or private and or public universities. I'm mostly concerned with the college right now. And I'm open to my staff and others, right? We will speak about it. You know what I mean? This is something that I'm passionate about, but I do need the help from my cabinet to come up with the workable solutions for everybody. But the one thing that the Spirit of the living God has given me is that we will increase the international toll, right, for anybody paying customs to get in here. Why? Because Jesus says in Matthew chapter 17, verse 27, right, he asked Peter a question. He said, do the people of these nations who are owners of the customs, do they have to pay tolls to live where they live? And he said, no. He said, well, indeed, the children are free. And I asked my wife, what does that mean? She said, the children are free. And this was months before I even heard the Holy Spirit tell me run for president. So the first thing that happened, I was in the shower and I heard the Holy Spirit say, increase the international toll. So I went back to my wife. I said, what is the international toll, baby? She said, visa. What's that? That's when they're coming into the country to pay customs. So I did the research. In 2014, 75 million tourists came into this nation. And at $190 a person, right, the Holy Spirit began to speak to me and say, raise it to $300, right, as an international toll. And that will produce a surplus of $8.5 billion. I began to present it to so-called, very educated people, and it blew their minds. Why? Because Jesus said, the meek will find the wise. See, I'm going to keep it real. And there may be some demons out there that say, oh, he's hearing Jesus. And now what? Can you refute what I'm saying? No. Because the truth of the matter is there's no need for a child like my son Saeed, who's a student of University of Georgia, right, to almost get kicked out 2 weeks in because of a mishap with his financial aid. You see what I'm saying? He almost got kicked out. So now he has to make a choice between his, $2,000 a year meal plan and where he's going to, all this other stuff. So I say no, right? 40,000 students a year will enjoy a full tuition of $200,000 for 4 years. So every freshman going into these colleges can enjoy up to $200,000. That is the cap. This is how it was given to me, and this is how I present it. So that's going to open up 40,000. Now, those who can afford it, fine. But those who are accepted, you ain't got to go through no financial aid. You ain't got to go through no payback. I heard somebody say yesterday at dinner, right? Oh, if you get a student loan, right, you got to pay it back. No, not under my administration. There ain't going to be no student loans, right? It's a blessing that will be given to you, and you ain't got to pay it back.
I believe that does it. We've run out of time today.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me.
All right.
I wish you well on
Okay.
your campaign.
Okay.
I know that you're going to do great.
Thank you.